So, I remember when I was a kid and like basically all my life, I was always that shy kid. I was always that more awkward kid. And I was always the person that never really had a lot of friends. But I would always see these people around me in like these big friend groups, and they were always doing all these exciting things like going out and all hanging out. And, everything just looked so enticing to me. Everything around, like I felt like I was missing out on everything because I always had, bad social anxiety. And it's like whenever people would go up to me and try to talk to me, yeah, I would panic because it's like my mind was always trying to think of things to say to keep the other person entertained because I felt like it was just, I was a people pleaser. Like I felt like it was my job to entertain people. And I felt like if I said the wrong thing, they wouldn't like me or respect me. And that was something that terrified me, was not being liked by other people. Like I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And that was the main thing leading to my social anxiety. So confidence in getting over social anxiety isn't something that you can necessarily just, watch a video and like you can't just walk into a room and just pretend to be confident. Confidence is something you have to practice. You have to get good at something and have genuine confidence in yourself that you're good at that thing, to actually be able to show your confidence and have it be shown to everyone you're around. And what I did was, over a year ago, I decided to, face one of my biggest fears by getting a job as a server at Top Golf, where you're surrounded by people. You have coworkers everywhere. There's so many people in that building. You have to deal with customers. You have to constantly socialize. You have to be on your A game. You have to be on your A game. You can't shy away from people. And I kind of just, put myself in the deep end by getting that job because I went through a breakup and I realized how I was just sick of missing out on everything. I realized like I just wasn't, I realized I had no confidence. Like I realized I didn't really have many friends. I tied a lot of energy into that relationship. And I realized how hard it was for me to meet other people because I was so dependent on that other person. And I kind of let myself become more reserved again because of how dependent I was on my ex. And I realized anytime people would come up to me, once again, I felt like how I did as a kid. I was scared. I didn't know how to maintain a conversation. My mind couldn't process my thoughts because I was so anxious. My brain was so focused on being anxious and so focused on trying to please the other person. I couldn't think of how I actually felt about something. So this breakup of me losing my confidence is what really pushed me to get this job. And, when I first walked into the job, yeah, I was so motivated and, dedicated to just changing my life and just, being more confident. I just started going up to people. I would go up to people. I would ask them, how their day was. I would ask them, how long they've been working there. I would ask them what they felt about the job. I would just ask them, basic questions, introduce myself, I would do basic things like that. And of course it was really hard in the beginning, but I just kept pushing myself because you really have to be dedicated to make this change. I would just have to push myself, no matter how hard it was and no matter how like terrified I was. I just had to make this change, and I just, kept on talking to people. And then once I started actually talking about things I was interested in, instead of trying to please the other person, I started finding people with common interests. And, when I started finding people with common interests, I started making more friends. And as I started making more friends there, I was more comfortable with being myself and meeting more people there. So over time, and of course, things like posture, keeping eye contact when you talk to people, those are all so important to actually just showing who you are and showing that you're invested in the conversation and that you're invested in what the other person is talking about. So I would practice those things over time, along with meeting more people and just trying to be myself. And the more you talk to people, you're practicing confidence. You're practicing socializing, and you get better at the skill of socializing, and you become more confident in your skill of socializing. So more than anything, gaining confidence is just about practicing having confidence. It's about practicing socializing. It's about practicing being around people and getting over social anxiety. You just have to practice. You have to surround yourself with people. You have to get over this fear, and you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable around people. So that's all I have to say. That's how I changed my perspective. That's how I gained more confidence. And of course, nothing's perfect yet, but as time goes on, it gets easier. And you realize that social anxiety kind of goes away as you care less about what other people think.